I've already said to the missus I want to be world's strongest man in 2030. So I've started training already. I'm eating 10 potatoes a day, 300 grams of protein. I'm going for it, Ed.
We've placed nearly 30 people there this year in Saudi. The projects are the most exciting things. If you look at football in the Saudi Pro League, some of the players that are moving there now, but even the way the teams are sort of acquiring players is changing.
Luke Littler hadn't won that title. It's something that had been avoiding him for a long, long period of time. And as soon as that final dart goes in and he wins, it's obviously all over the media. And the media valuation that comes with that, with someone like Luke Littler, is big. And it's a perfect demographic for their brand and their product.
It's episode 3 of The Deal Room with Sporting Group International and Sporting Jobs. My name's Ed. I'll be asking the questions, but as always, the expert analysis comes from Sporting Groups International, Adrian and Ian. Hello, gentlemen. How are we doing?
How you doing, Ed? You okay?
Good. Yeah, very good. And then, of course, from Sporting Jobs, we have Harry. How are we doing?
Very well, thank you, Ed. Thank you.
Now, Harry, you might be a little bit redundant for this first part because we're talking Battle of the Beasts. I feel like I've got to address this elephant in the room because I keep seeing pictures popping up on LinkedIn of Ian and Adrian with a massive man. It looks like a proper lad's holiday, that. What was going on?
Oh, God, you didn't mention the G.O.A.T, and you didn't mention the Birkenstock either.
Is that
we got absolutely slammed for wearing in our official Photoshop. But,
So tell us a little bit, because you're off in Malta. This was Battle of the Beasts then, basically.
Yeah. We ended up flying out on a whistle-stop tour to Malta. It was Wednesday came back late Friday night. We went to see the filming of Battle of the Beasts, which I think when Ian struck the deal, we kind of got a view of what we were going to be expecting. There was a belly flop challenge and there was, medley, there was an eating challenge. But just to be in and around, like, literally the world's most strongest people, and like compared to me, who's a little short ass, who literally looked very small against them, was a very, very kind of overwhelming opportunity. But it was beautiful, centre of Malta, on the beach. The weather was absolutely glorious. But it was an interesting thing to see. And I know obviously Ian doing the deal and bringing it to fruition, and obviously securing Dual Bits as the official partner to sponsor the full event. It was good to get in contact with them as well and meet them and just get a firm view of whether there's further things they can do in this kind of space or maybe other sports.
Yes, so it was Eddie Hall, wasn't it? Former world's strongest man. I think 2017 was when he won the title. He is an absolute man mountain as well, isn't he, Ian? You're relatively tall, but you did look. Both of you look pretty small.
Relatively tall.
I mean,
don't know about that.
What measuring tape have you got?
This is true, actually. That would probably be a bit generous there, to be fair. Tell us a little bit about the deal then. So, what was the deal, and how did it all come about?
So it came about, and this is an important thing actually for us as a business. We leverage our network quite a lot. It's really, really important. We class them as kind of like T1s, don't we, across the group, and we build relationships, not necessarily with people that are going to do deals, but people who can influence deals, and they can literally connect you with other people within businesses, etc. And that's exactly what happened here. A chap called Joe Housley, he's friends with one of the guys that works at Camelot Films. Connected the dots. We then obviously had an initial chat to see if we could help, see if we could support. Loved the concepts. I mean, I've been a World's Strongest Man fan for a while, actually. I've always been fascinated by how these guys and girls can just lift such heavy weight. Just anyway, awesome. Loved it. And the whole concept was they want to try and... It's still a serious event, but they want to try and bring the humour side out of the event as well, and actually tell the story as to, these guys aren't just huge, unbelievably strong people. They've actually got a lot of intelligence. They're very caring. They're very loving. They're just normal guys and girls that just, that just want to entertain fundamentally. And do you know what? That's what clearly came across when we were out there. Some of these world's strongest athletes are just really humble people. You see these huge specimens, but they're just lovely, lovely people. And yeah, Eddie Hall was a great guy, and we've connected with him and continue that connection to this day. And that's as a result of going out to Malta fundamentally.
So who approached you first? I mean, did they come to you saying, look, we need a deal for Battle of the Beasts? Or did you have a sponsor that you were like, we're looking for the right vehicle?
It's like everything, and I think we mentioned this in previous episodes. So what we would tend to do is we'll get under the bonnet of what the rights holder is looking for, what the objectives are, what their brand values are. We'll look at the audience figures, social media following. demographics of the sort of like viewership that they're looking to achieve. Is it going to be televised? Isn't it going to be televised? Which territories is it going to be televised in? And then once we've got all of that and much more as well, is we'll kind of, as a group, we'll get together and go, right, guys, we've got this opportunity. We've got a huge pool of brands. Which brands are going to be relevant and which aren't? You know, and that's exactly what we did. We identified, I think it was somewhere between 15 and 20 brands that we've got a strong relationship with, that we know what their sort of objectives are and you know, when it comes to sports sponsorship. And yeah, we went out to those 15, 20 brands. Just so happens that G.O.A.T came back to us pretty quickly. It was right up their street, exactly what they're looking for, their brand, Jewel, you know, and obviously what, you know, this event is all about. It is, you know, a lot of Jewel, a lot of battles, you know, to become the strongest person. It just kind of like resonated with what they're looking to achieve as a business, and the rest is history. You know, it was after that, it was connecting Camelot Films, who were the film producer, with G.O.A.T, bringing the two together, and it was just from then, really, it was like a match made in heaven.
It's an interesting proposition because it sounds almost like they're going a little bit like the American wrestling, that they want that personality side, that show. It's that sort of crossing that line, isn't it, between entertainment and sport almost? Is that? Do you think where a lot of things are starting to go now?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, going out there, obviously I've watched World's Strongest Man as Ian has over the years, and you know, seeing the events and how they unfold, and you know, even the injuries. You know, there's one guy that literally did the first event, which is called like the medley. Literally, you'd have to take a boat out, row a boat out, and then row the boat back into shore, jump onto shore. They've got 300 kg chests. They have to then put onto the back of like this cart and then get back into the water and swim out. And these guys, you know, they're like 200 kg, some of the guys, 200 pounds, sorry. And they literally were having to swim out into the ocean. And there was guys that were literally drowning because of the weight of them. Yeah. But the whole thing around what they've tried to do is there was a lot of humour. When we were, you know, certainly Belly Flop Challenge, there was a female athlete that was drafted in to participate, and some of the things they were saying around her doing the belly flop and whatnot was like, you know, it's quite edgy, right. But I don't know whether they let her make the camera, but you know, there was quite a bit of, you know, there was a couple of guys that had inserted some implements down their trunks as well that made things look a bit interesting, and I think for kids that were in the arena and obviously watching that, but they were just trying to get some kind of content really, and I think Eddie's humour but also authoritarian approach, you know, he's quite an imposing gentleman, you know. We just shook his hand and he was like, these guys came up to him while we were talking to him, and he just literally was like, wait there, you know, we're talking to someone else. And this guy was like, oh, okay, you know, if someone tells you, it's like, you world's strongest man, to move away, you move away. But I think, look, what will happen is, as all these companies do, these film companies, the edit will be unbelievable. You know, kind of like, we'll be like, well, that didn't happen, or it did happen, but it wasn't quite like that. They will spend literally 4 or 5 months, I think we were told, getting the edit absolutely bang on. And I know for a fact they're going to sell that, be a Netflix or an Apple TV, it'll be someone like that will take it up, for sure.
It's interesting, obviously, you guys doing that deal, Sporting Group International, you think sport. And the question might be, is that sport? Is it purely entertainment? I'm not sure where that sits necessarily. Do you feel as an agency that's something that you're going to be looking into a lot more? I
put a post out yesterday on LinkedIn that, you know, more around football centric, in the fact that I do, and I think I said it in a previous podcast actually, is that I do think that sport entertainments are merging. You know, I think a lot of these sports entities want to be more like media creators, content creators than anything else. If you think about it, there is that much to watch across TV, mobile. They've got to create something that stands out from the rest. So I do think you'll find that actually, yes, sport and the spectacle is always going to be there. That's always going to be the pinnacle of what the viewership is going to want to see. But they're going to want to see that entertainment factor as well. What more is going on? What behind the scenes stuff can I watch that I'm not normally going to get access to? And I think that's really, really important to really grab the imagination of the audience.
Eddie Hall as well has grown to fame more sort of post his career, hasn't he? Like his YouTube following now, I think it's over a couple of million. He gets millions of views. 9 million. 9 million. He gets loads of views on his YouTube, and everyone wants to see what he's eating every day. Everyone wants to see his training schedule, how his life sort of evolves around his training plan. I know his little boy's training himself, isn't he, and things like that. And his diet is fascinating to watch. So again, from a content perspective, he's so watchable. He's got a podcast out now that I think I see a load of clips for. He's just captivating, isn't it?
100%. And I'll be honest, ever since I came back from Malta, and I'm not afraid to say this, is I've been following all these guys, all these athletes, just literally watching what they do day in, day out. I've already said to the missus, I want to be world's strongest man in 2030. So I've started training already. I'm eating 10 potatoes a day, 300 grams of protein. I'm going for it, Ed.
I thought you bulked up a bit, and I thought that.
It always works as well from the content perspective, doesn't it? It's like mountains of food, and you see Eddie Hall with his top off, and he's about bending frying pans and all this sort of stuff. It works on the internet.
What he's done really, really well, he's used like influencers. So there's a girl called Leah Shukova. She's a challenge eater.
Yes.
So I think she's got 40 world records where she'll literally, there's one of them where there was a plate of mozzarella, 400 grams of mozzarella in 2 slices, and she'd got to do that under a minute. And I watched the video. If you get a chance to watch it. And literally it was like a silent pause in the room where she was like, which could have choked. It was and she goes, I hope everybody felt the tension there. It was like, she said, I must admit, I was struggling. But Eddie has literally, I've watched some of his videos. There's a woman that's got the largest mouth in the world, based in the US. Literally shoving stuff into her mouth, and he's like doing challenges. They're like taking bites out of pizzas in America and putting that on video. He's obviously got Leah. He's just taking people that have got like quirks, things around like their following to kind of hook into his, so their followers become his followers, and he's kind of just made sure that the alliance he's got with like Leah as an example, he's doing something regularly with her. So it's like Eddie and Leah face off with the burger challenge, and everybody's just like, well, Eddie's people are going to watch it, and then all of a sudden Leah's going to benefit from
commercially though as well. You could see so many brands that like want to, if you were a big DIY brand or something, you could see him being like used in so many different things, couldn't you? Like even his clothing, his supplements, his nutrition, those sorts of things. You could just see he's so marketable.
There's lots of products out there that actually got Beast associated. Interesting enough, we hooked up with Eddie as soon as we got back, and we've actually agreed with him that we're going to be responsible for acquiring some partners for him.
Oh, brilliant!
So he's got he's got a stable of partners at the moment. He's got a couple of own brands that he owns. But I've already got some really good ideas of how I think you could synergize the strength and the products, that potentially would assist him growing his brand with companies in main and sectors he hasn't even thought about. So, he's got guys, crack on, give you the green light, I'll pay you on success kind of thing.
I see, okay. I think that's really interesting what you're saying about how he's collaborating, creating partnerships with other creators. It's very much what you're doing really with sponsorship deals, isn't it? You're creating partners to basically use audience for other people and kind of push them around. So it's not actually that dissimilar really, is it, I guess?
You're right.
In terms of the actual deal then for that sponsorship for Battle of the Beasts, is it a very similar deal that you might be doing with a football club, or is it structured very differently?
I think there's a lot of synergies, definitely. At the end of the day, a brand will want, like G.O.A.T, for example, they want exposure, so they'll want to use assets where, they're going to get their brand on TV, through various different means, whether that be through Amazon, Apple, like Adrian mentioned. Obviously, these content creators, it wasn't just, Leah. I mean, at the events itself, they had the likes of, they had the guy from Reacher, the 7'2", I think he's 7'2", isn't he? I can't think of his name.
The main character in Reacher.
The main character, 7'2". I mean, he was like towering above Eddie Hall, which is he was 6'2". Then you've got another guy called The Mountain that's obviously regular. You've got Tommy Fury that was there. So they're surrounding themselves by people that can generate content, which that is only going to benefit the brand G.O.A.T, because they're going to be, obviously talking at the events. The brand is going to be in the background. They're all wearing the T-shirts with the logos on the front of them. But then there's a lot of activations. We went there on the Friday at the... it's where Gladiator was filmed, actually, in Malta. It was like the big Colosseum area. Fascinating, absolutely beautiful setting. But actually there as well, G.O.A.T were just doing a load of different activations with the audience that were there. They were doing like a hanging challenge where whoever hangs the longest, they're doing the, I can't think actually what it's called, but where you hold out the...
hammer hold.
The hammer hold, that's it. The hammer holds. I think I lasted about 3 or 4 minutes, didn't I?
Did you? Massive.
I was there to the hand thing.
The hammer hold, so there's lots of different elements that go towards an overall partnership as well. But they're just a couple of bits and pieces. But it's similar with football. Football want exposure, they want activations. etc.
Did you have a hand in any of the activations, or do you ever get the opportunity to suggest anything to brands like we've thought of this, or?
Oh yeah, 100%. So I think that's part of our expertise, and is trying to bring an opportunity to life. So if we're talking to a brand, I've got a meeting later on today actually, and it is exactly that. I've already thought in the back of my mind, okay, well, how can this particular brand and this particular rights holder work together to really create something that's going to capture the imagination of the audience that they're marketing to. So we've always got to be throwing out ideas, trying to be a support mechanism really to a brand, to a rights holder, to make sure that there's a good marry up from a partnership perspective.
And that's interesting, because I think perhaps the perception might be that you connect them, you sign the deal, and that's the end of it. Goodbye, we've done our bit, sort of thing.
I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that probably is the case when it comes to a lot of agencies. If I'm perfectly honest, we don't want to be like that. And I think actually the fact that me and Adrian have gone to Malta, after the deal's done, we don't necessarily need to. We can move on, go to the next. But we don't want to. We're actually very, very interested to see it come to life, to build further relationships with Camelot Films and hopefully future Battle of the Beast episodes, to continue to support Jewel Bits and their journey and look at what they're doing. How can we support you further? Are there any other territories or are there any other objectives that you want to look at from a sponsorship perspective? That's really important for us, because without that relationship, without that network, and we've seen the benefits of it. Adrian just mentioned that we've already jumped on a call with Eddie Hall. And the reason, and we wouldn't have been able to do that unless we were, shaking his hand, looking at the whites of his eyes, just building that relationship. Yeah. Similar with the brand itself, and that's what we do. We did exactly the same at the PDC at the weekend.
Well, I was going to lead on to that, because that's the next big thing. It's been a big, interesting couple of weeks. I mean, very diverse in terms of the range of things that you've covered. So, Battle of the Beast to PDC. Are they kind of interlinked in a way then? I mean, how did that all come about? What's that situation?
I don't think they are specifically interlinked. They are from a sponsorship acquisition perspective. I think Ian mentioned in the first podcast that Gary Newbond had connected us to Barry Hearn to try and assist Matchroom with acquisition of sponsors for their various events. They've got World Snooker Tour, they've got the darts. And it was quite clear for us that we wanted to break into that arena, because it is literally, if you look at darts 20, 30 years ago and snooker compared to what it is now, Ian went to the semi-finals, I went to the finals. I hadn't been to darts probably for 10, 15 years. And it's like, still what I remember, everybody's dressed up, everybody's having a great time. This was a Sunday night as well. And it was just like, even me, I was, I don't drink. And it was like, I was bopping around to like the entrance music for the players. And, I took my wife as well. And she was like, come on, you're taking me to the darts. That is just, and I was like, come on, we'll just go. Let's just go and see what it's like. And she came back. She said, what? I've had a really good night, actually. But the thing that you've got with that, Hire, who's been acquired and put into that arrangement, they are leveraging a huge exposure from that event. And, they have an activation on the night. Interestingly, the guy who we struck the deal with is probably one of the highest paid activators in sports sponsorship, because he was actually on the stand on the night of the final, and he made reference to it. He said, "Can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm doing it because I want to do it." But that they will be seen around the world. Luke Littler hadn't won that title. It's something that had been a kind of avoiding him for a long period of time. And as soon as that final dart goes in and he wins, it's obviously all over the media, and the media valuation that comes with that, with someone like Luke Littler. Is big, and it's a perfect demographic for their brand and their product. So, yeah, they are and they aren't linked.
Are you seeing those opportunities rise then? Because we talked about it with Eddie Hall, that those personalities are becoming bigger, and it's actually more about them than it is the sport to a certain degree. And I guess that's probably true in darts. And you look back, you mentioned snooker as well, Adrian, that 20 years ago, they were focused on snooker, and then they'd do their job and they'd go home. But there's so much more to it now. It is that crossover, isn't it, to entertainment, which we've keep coming back to, I know. But that seems to be the big thing, doesn't it, moving forward?
Yeah, and I think, we're seeing the brands move with the product. So just been announced that darts will actually be featuring in Saudi Arabia in January, which we knew was coming. It's happened with boxing. It's happening in football. It's happening with, Harry has done a lot of work in Saudi Arabia from a recruitment perspective on a multi-sport arrangement. Saudi's strategy is literally to, demand that kind of level of excellence around sport. And if that means they have to buy in the sport to get the eyeballs and create maybe a visitor economy, or, that they're prepared to do it. They're prepared to put the money in. And I think where we are, we're fortunate that most of the sports that we consume day in, day out, we were accustomed to and we've invented, football, snooker, darts. They've all come from our great nation, so we've just been that used to having them on our TV screens, whether that be once a week on Match Today, or whether now it's like every hour or every minute.
I think that's going to be the challenge as well for Matchroom, isn't it? I've just been watching the documentary of Matchroom on Netflix, which is amazing, by the way.
Great,
really great. I recommend anyone to watch it because it gives you a real good understanding of the business, but the people behind it too. Snooker and darts are really kind of like, there's a lot of heritage to them. Ali Pali isn't a massive arena. I think you get 4,000 people in there on the finals night. If that. The Crucible, I think, is like 1,500 seated, but steeped in history. Lots of people have won in the Crucible and value it as an arena. But I think that switch to Saudi is that there's money. All of a sudden, they're offering £1 million for a golden ball and a 147 and these sorts of things. And the same with darts. I'd imagine that there's going to be certain things around crazy finishes, and Riyadh season will push those sorts of things. But it's that balance between keeping the heritage of the sport and the people going to Ali Pali and the traditions with it, but also the big checks and prizes that could occur in Saudi. I think that'll be really tough for them to sort of navigate, won't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It's an interesting one. I think that it's a nice point to bring you in, Harry, in terms of recruitment, because you must be seeing that, I guess, from a recruitment side, the different kind of roles and skill sets that sporting organisations now want, because they're making that crossover into the world of entertainment. Are you noticing that?
Yeah, so Saudi's a great point for us. We've placed nearly 30 people there this year in Saudi, and I think a lot of people's kind of understanding of it is that, look, there's loads of money to be had there, tax-free salaries, but that's not necessarily the whole point here. I think the projects are the most exciting things. If you look at football in the Saudi Pro League, some of the players that are moving there now, but even the way the teams are sort of acquiring players is changing. Their profile and demographics of players are changing. There's 10 amazing stadiums being built. Have a look at the new stadiums that are going to be there for the World Cup. Look at the Aramco Stadium in Khobar. It's going to be an amazing sort of journey there. And I think the big thing and the reason that people are looking to navigate there is actually there's a huge opportunity. Commercially, when we're placing people from the Premier League out there, they're not going there for more money. They're going there for an opportunity to grow and build a commercial department and leverage brands to then maybe in a couple of years come back to the UK with that book of contacts that they could use in the Premier League and things like that. So, it's a hugely exciting time there. It has its challenges, working in Saudi, and I think the timescales can be quite difficult. The visa and Iqama process is quite difficult at times, and we're having to fly people into Bahrain to get a visa and getting family across. We've had people that won't accept the job unless they take the pets across with them. These sorts of things that are always funny about recruitment. But as projects go, the sort of switch to multi-sport projects, big esports projects in Saudi, it's a hugely exciting time from a recruitment standpoint, yeah.
And is that a different world in terms of the hiring brief that you've kind of experienced, or is it very similar? Is there a standard set process, hiring brief, we look around, or is it a whole different ballgame?
Depending on the client. There's a big push for Saudiization in Saudi. So initially, and what you've seen over the last couple of years is that a lot of expats have gone out there, and we've taken them from like high performance Olympic environments in Australia, New Zealand, the UK. Whereas now there's a real emphasis about finding the best Saudi national talent, which can be difficult because you won't find a paddle coach from a Saudi background because it didn't exist there. Yeah. But the best Saudi national Arabic-speaking talent is really important right now, and we've grown a huge network there after a lot of hard work in the last couple of years.
Because that's the interesting part, I suppose, really, that you go, okay, you put an advert out for a job, but quite often it's not the people who are looking that you actually might be after. So how do you make sure you find the right candidates?
Yeah, I think it's quite similar to sponsorship, really. There's two big things. Meetings are really critical for us. Same in sponsorship. We really want to understand our clients' wants and needs. And I think by going and spending time at a stadium, visiting a training ground, visiting multiple members of a team, you can establish what the culture's like, what the team fit is, what the objectives are of your client. Same in sponsorship. But equally, what we're finding out there as well is that the brief can change all the time. So again, we've had sort of requirements across commercial, across partnerships, across men's football team, women's football team, and it's led by the client's wants and needs. So at times they need Premier League experience, or they need a head grounds person that's worked in certain environments and certain climates, whereas equally then at times they may be looking for more of a cultural fit and a team fit in terms of, we want someone that's really enthusiastic, that's looking to come in and achieve this, is willing to learn, and actually our team isn't as big as what you'd expect in the Premier League, but you may have these things to work with and different options like that. So I always think fit and culture is critical for us, I suppose, from a recruitment point.
From the other side of that then, so if somebody's not in a sport role at the moment, but they built up a good skill set, they're thinking, actually, I'd love to change, and are my skills transferable? How do they become that hire? How do they get in that picture?
Again, we need the right clients to be willing to see those sorts of people. So we've just done a couple of CFOs, one in the Premier League, one in the Championship, and particularly in the Championship appointment, the club are really forward thinking. They're really kind of looking for candidates that weren't from a football background. I think sometimes, if you've been Aston Villa's commercial director for 10 years and then you get the commercial job at Birmingham City for the following 5 years, it loses its kind of credibility at times, really, Whereas actually, if there's somebody that's worked in a finance capacity for a really big conglomerate, big company that's down the road, is aware of the region and the sort of nuances of maybe working in the northeast or down in the southwest, that's hugely valuable to a client. So again, it's led by us meeting them, taking a really great brief, getting an understanding of the support that the team around them is. So if the rest of the finance department are all solid with football backgrounds, they've got their head and sort of geared around PSR and football finance, then actually they could maybe afford, this new CFO doesn't need to have great football experience, but they could have led a brilliant team of a multi-million-pound organisation and have that sort of strength to it.
So if someone was looking to do that, and if someone they're watching or listening now, I guess you'd welcome somebody reaching out to you going, look, I'd love to make that move. This is my career. It's not sport related, but can you see something for me?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's really important that the industry needs to have fresh ideas and new people in it all the time. You guys will probably vouch for that in football clubs. 100%. Sometimes it's people that have been there for so long and they get the next job because they've been there and been at the club down the road. We want new people that have worked in maybe like affiliated and associated industries, entertainment, stadia, venues, events, those sorts of things are natural kind of easy switches. But I just put 2 great commercial people into a football club down south this week. One was a recruiter like myself, and I think what recruitment gives you is hard sales experience, and they wanted somebody that's going to go and find them regional partners, who's going to come and join our networking club, our business club at the football club, who's going to take hospitality from us. And that recruitment sort of background that my candidate had was, really hard sales experience. He's been out, he's attended meetings, he spoke to lots of people, and finding things that are kind of associated and assimilated to the job.
And I used to find, sorry to go across, that when it came to recruitment, I found that if you did take people out of another industry, so, we've got someone in SGI at the moment, Taylor, he's our head of sponsorship. I took him out of the car industry. He'd been very, very conditioned to a sales environment. It's literally numbers game. Yeah. I've done it with recruiters, so I've taken people out of recruitment and put them into sport. And I think the difference behind that is that I do believe there's a movement within sport. If you're going on the upside, so if you're going from one role, you've proven yourself at entry level, you've hit your KPIs, you've proven yourself for 3 or 4 years in that, or maybe less in that role, then you can move up into maybe a higher grade position. So I do think the transfer of skills across sport, within sport, as in people that are still in it and work in it, but bringing new people in with fresh perspectives was like a big thing for me. So whenever I was in a club, I always thought, I'm looking for a hospitality sales executive. I don't want to bring someone from another club because they're going to be used to the way they sell it, and I don't want them to be the way they sell it. It's the way we sell it, and how we achieve our numbers is based on a method. That having people that don't have any preconceived ideas is sometimes a really good thing. Yeah.
My next question was going to be that on the surface, you might think recruitment and sponsorship and partnerships don't necessarily sit together, but we've talked about it in a previous episode, and I think it's kind of proven today, actually, they niche very well together, don't they, really?
Yeah, 100%. I don't the process is very, very similar. It's a human-based environment. People buy from people. And as Ian has just mentioned about dual bits, there was no way on this planet they would have known anything about Battle of the Beasts unless we alerted them to it. And it could be exactly the same for Harry. He might have a candidate sat in a football club that's quite happy in what they're doing, but there's another £20,000 available because they could potentially move up a level based on what they've done, their experience, their background. And Harry's saying, look, I'm backing you for this role, and I think you should be considered for it. And then Harry would sell the reasons behind it. I've looked at your background, I've looked at your track record, hopefully your CV, echoes what you've done, and I'm going to put you forward to my client because I think you're a really good prospect. Yeah. So they're very, very similar.
Nice place to leave it, I think. I mean, I was going to finish on our final thing of we've got to work out who the best Premier League defender is now, really, because we've done the goalkeeper, haven't we? Do you remember who we went for in the end? Who was it?
Goalkeeper.
Defender or goalkeeper?
Who was the best goalkeeper?
It was David Cech, wasn't it? No?
David Seaman. I'm sure it was David Seaman, wasn't it?
David Seaman. It was David Seaman. So we're building from the back then. Best defender we've got to go for. Adrian, I'm going to start with you. Kyle Walker or Sol Campbell?
Oh, Sol Campbell.
Sol Campbell. Okay. Sol Campbell or Gary Neville?
Oh, Sol Campbell.
Oh, no hesitation. Okay, fair enough. Sol Campbell or Nemanja Vidic? Tough one.
Still think Sol Campbell.
Sol Campbell goes through. Right, Harry, on to you. Okay, Sol Campbell or Vincent Kompany?
That is difficult. Vincent Kompany?
Vincent Kompany, okay. Vincent Kompany or Tony Adams, Harry?
Not in your era, mate.
It just slightly falls outside of my era, but I'll stick with Vincent Kompany.
Vincent Kompany. Okay, last one for you then, Harry. Vincent Kompany or Rio Ferdinand?
Vincent Kompany.
Vincent Kompany. Oh, no hesitation. Okay, Ian, here we go. Vincent Kompany or Virgil van Dijk?
Van Dijk.
No hesitation. All right. Van Dijk or Ashley Cole?
Come on, Ian.
I must admit, Ashley Cole for me is one of the best left backs in the world ever. But to be fair, I'm going to go Ashley Cole.
Agonising. Okay. And finally, this will be the winner. Ashley Cole or John Terry?
Good question, that is, Ed.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? God, that's a tough one, that is. Ashley Cole.
Ashley Cole's won it. Do we have agreement from...
Both Premier League Hall of Famers, those two.
Yeah, I think
happy with that.
We're happy with that.
Any other honourable mentions that we've missed out, do you think?
Paul McGrath.
Paul McGrath. Okay.
Paul McGrath.
Yeah.
All right.
Unbelievable.
Honestly.
One of the best central defenders Aston Villa have ever seen.
Martin Granger.
Oh.
I think we're scraping now. We're reaching, aren't we? We're reaching.
Martin, if you're listening, I apologise.
Yeah, sorry, Martin. He's a hard man. I'm worried now. I'm worried. Okay, it's a nice place to leave it. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll catch up again in episode 4. But if you want to reach out at all, find out more about what Sporting Group International do, or Sporting Jobs for that matter, do find them on LinkedIn. You can connect that way. And we'll catch you in the next episode.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Luke.